Jimmy Butler was outstanding. It's why you paid him all that money. Jonathan Kuminga comes back to the rotation and continues to shine in this series. He looked awesome today, both of them with 30-plus points. Buddy Hield put on a clinic late in the game, but it's not enough. No one else for the Warriors shows up. I mean, no one else shows up. And Anthony Edwards on the other side, the best player on the floor with 36. Julius Randle, a triple-double, and Rudy Gobert with some big moments down the stretch. Let's get into it on today's Locked On Dubs.
You are Locked On Warriors.
Stop trying to turn the page on us so fast.
Your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
We got 4 championships.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Every team has a chance if Steph's on the team.
Your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Warriors, everyone. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We talk about the Golden State Warriors after every single game, win or lose, preseason. We're also there whenever news breaks, and we're here to break down now Minnesota leading 2-1 in this series after a 102-97 win at Chase Center. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. You can find us on YouTube and wherever you get your audio podcasts. Make sure to subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and stick with us for future episodes. Kylan Mills, the guest on today's show, to break down just a sensational performance from Anthony Edwards, and another day that we come on here and express frustrations that Steph Curry it doesn't seem like he's trending towards being able to play until Game 6 at the earliest now. So you just need to steal one of these games and stay alive for as long as possible to give Curry a potential chance to return. And the Warriors completely had to change their style today. The three-pointer went away completely in the first half as Golden State does not hit a single three. You heard that correctly. But in the end, it was the Anthony Edwards show. Kylan, good to see you.
Good to see you, Chuck. Not great to see you talking about a Warriors loss. I mean, the fact that the Dubs were in this game neck and neck at the half without making a triple is a really positive sign. They got hot in the third quarter. They limited turnovers. They started knocking down some threes. But this ultimately came down to about the final 5 minutes. This was a 2-point ball game. Draymond Green fouls out on what I think was a really tough whistle. On that final foul, there was not a lot of contact. I do think that was a tough turn of events, a tough break for the Warriors because he was sensational in terms of his defense, as Draymond always is. And I just think that losing him was a major piece of why the Warriors fell apart down the stretch and this Timberwolves team was able to take control. I mean, that's what it came down to about those final 4.5 minutes. It was a 2-point game. They were able to go on a run, string together some good execution. When this Timberwolves team gets downhill, Anthony Edwards shows off his athleticism. They're really tough to stop. And so I think it's a heartbreaker because the Warriors were so close without Steph Curry to pulling off the win. At the end of the third quarter, I thought, hey, they can do this. So I think it's almost more heartbreaking than if they had lost big time. I'm frustrated because I do think Dre and then Looney as well. Kevon Looney also fouled out, and the Warriors needed that interior presence against the Timberwolves. And paint protection is, like I said, they've got Julius Randle, they've got Anthony Edwards who can get downhill. And so I just think those were a couple of tough breaks down the stretch that were too much to overcome.
Seemed like a lot of it was Anthony Edwards from deep late. He ended up with 5 threes in the game, but again, at the rim, you saw him meet Looney at the rim for a poster at one point down the stretch of this game. Jimmy Butler did all he could do for the Warriors. He had 33, 12 of 26. Joining him in the 30-point club was Jonathan Kuminga, who was 11 of 18, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Kuminga was just outstanding. They were both awesome. There were points in this game where Jimmy Butler would just navigate through the lane, and it seemed easy. He had that window working, was just too strong, too big at certain moments, had a jam in there. Kuminga was incredible in every single way, including knocking down the 3. 3 of 4 from deep was Kuminga, and even Jimmy Butler, 2 of 4 from 3. So they stretched it, and then Buddy Hield joined in on the party with 14 late to kind of keep the Warriors in it. But really what it came down to was in the final 4 minutes, there was really no Kuminga until it was too late, and there was no Jimmy Butler at all in the final 5 minutes of this game. And the Warriors, they scored 97, a few of them in garbage time. Just not enough offense. An excellent defensive game. And the turnovers kill you. Draymond with 5 of them. So as good as he played at times defensively, using every foul to his advantage, I guess, he was not good on the offensive side of the ball. 1 of 4. 5 turnovers, -5. Not great.
Yeah, so I would say as much as the Warriors want Draymond Green on the floor for what he does defensively, he has to eliminate the turnovers. Turnovers were a huge problem for the Warriors in the first half. I thought they had a couple of untimely turnovers down the stretch. Again, they limited them in that third quarter, which I think was a big reason why the Dubs went on that run and were able to take the lead in the third. But Draymond Green, the decision-making has to get better. It's needless turnovers. It's unforced turnovers, bad decision-making. Draymond and then Brandon Pajemski was the other player to me who I needed to see more from. It was a brutal night for Pods.
Brutal.
Not as much on the turnover front, but abysmal in terms of shooting, some of the decision making. He went 1 for 10 from the field, 1 of 4 from beyond the arc. Did have a couple of assists and some rebounds. Still tried to make the hustle plays, but I thought it was a brutal game from Pods. And then Dre, it was not his best for sure. But I do still think that Kevon Looney and Draymond Green fouling out, which don't get me wrong, like I said, I think the last foul was a weak foul, but I still think too many fouls from the two of them overall, I think hurt the Warriors. I thought it was interesting, though, Chuck, something that you and I were talking about was that Trace Jackson Davis didn't really play in the second half, almost at all. I mean, with the foul issues we were seeing with Kevon and Dre, I'm surprised that he didn't get a little bit more run or at least see
Yeah, he looked fine.
Anything down the stretch. I mean, it was limited minutes in the first half, but I thought he looked fine. He got the start. So I do think that was a curious decision by Steve Kerr and this Warriors coaching staff, because I wouldn't have minded to see him at least see what he could do down the stretch. On the positive side, Jonathan Kuminga, hello, he's back. Yeah. He was dominant. His athleticism on display. He was doing an excellent job finishing through contact. He looked aggressive. He looked confident in attacking the basket, and he provided some of the interior scoring the Warriors really needed when the 3 ball was not falling. Then even after defense. It was, then JK hit a couple of threes. When people started heating up, Jimmy Butler hit a couple of threes. So not even your typical 3-point shooters, but those two, I think, starting the scoring out inside forced the defense to collapse, sometimes got them into rotation when they were penetrating, and then they were able to find that space on the outside to knock down some wide open threes in the corner, and guys were hitting timely shots again, especially in that third quarter. Just an unfortunate final stretch for the Dubs. I think the turnovers added up for sure, and Anthony Edwards was sensational down the stretch. And you pointed out, like, JK and Jimmy didn't do a lot in the last 4.5 minutes. So that's where it hurts, because you need your stars to really take control. And I thought that Jimmy and JK did great jobs of that at times, but just in the final stretch, not quite enough. Because you look at this Timberwolves team, and again, it was a great defensive performance from the Dubs. They hold them to just about 100 points. But the T-Wolves were similar in terms of it being a two-man show. I mean, it's Anthony Edwards with 36 points, then Julius Randle with 24. I mean, that's a majority of your scoring. And so the Warriors just had to keep those two guys at bay, and they couldn't quite do it in the final minutes. Jaden McDaniels also had 15 points, and maybe more of a three-headed monster. But still, I just think that, those key players executed down the stretch where the Warriors did not execute in the final minutes.
Yeah, and it was kind of a look. It was the 3 versus 3 when it came down to it. It was the Warriors getting 63 from their 2 with Kuminga and Jimmy Butler, and then it was 14 from Buddy Hield. On the other side, 36. So they get 60 through the Wolves from Edwards and Randle collectively, and then they get 15 from McDaniel. So it was almost very similar in that fashion. I think when it just came down to the other players on the Warriors, the Pajemskis, the Gary Payton, the seconds, let's not let him off the hook. I mean, he didn't do anything special today either. Post only had a few minutes. Looney was in there for, defensive purposes. But when it came down to it, the Wolves' big 3 was just a little better than the Warriors' big 3. And
the Warriors' big 3 is the big 3 without Steph.
It was the big 4 because it was Gobert, man. It was Gobert who affected the game defensively in the final 3 minutes, to the point where Butler and Kaminga were not getting downhill as easy as they were early in the game. That was your difference. It was Gobert.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you in terms of that interior protection for sure. But I also think that Buddy Hield had a nice night, and that needs to be acknowledged. 4 of 8 from beyond the arc once the Warriors did start knocking down the 3 ball. But those 3 didn't execute. And I just think the Warriors didn't execute down the stretch. In the final 4 minutes, the offense was out of sync. They were letting the T-Wolves get inside too easily. And so I just think it came down to that final 4-minute execution. Also, in addition to Draymond, I thought that Gary Payton II not good. I don't think he's up to the task of guarding Anthony Edwards. I'm trying to think who else they had specifically had him paired up on, but that didn't work for me in terms of GP2 getting 26 minutes in this game. I don't think they were quality 26 minutes that we saw from Gary Payton II. He finished with pretty much non-existent numbers in the offensive end, like 1 rebound, 2 points, 1 steal, and a couple of fouls. I just don't think those were 26 productive minutes. Look, here's the thing. The Warriors are trying to win and beat the Timberwolves at full strength without Steph Curry. That was the point I wanted to make because you just mentioned the big three. Listen, the Warriors are without their big three. They're without their big number one, and that's Steph Curry. The fact they were so close in this game, that they were in it at the half, they were down 2 at the end of the fourth quarter.
It's encouraging, but it hurts because
more.
You get 63.
Yes, exactly. It's encouraging, but it makes it hurt even more because if the Warriors can steal one of these games, if you come away 2-2 from game 4, I think you feel good that Steph Curry's coming back, and you got to imagine with Steph, whether he's adding 15, 20, 30 points, that would put this Warriors team over the hump where they could not get over the hump in this game.
Yeah, and it looked like Steph was playing really well in his limited opportunities in game 1. I mean, he was cooking the Wolves defense, and there's no reason to think that he wouldn't do that. I mean, it's Steph Curry. He's just unbelievable and completely changes the way the Warriors play. He helps guys like Podziemski and Payton, quite frankly, because Podziemski really struggles to get his own shot at times. And when he's not knocking down the mid-range, and when, like today, late in quarters, he's keeping the ball in his hands with 7 seconds left and throwing up some shot that's not a good look.
Terrible shot.
Why? And he played 39 minutes, and I get it. You don't really want to go back to Pat Spencer. You need yourself a point guard, but could you make maybe Jimmy Butler the point guard? He was slowing up the game anyways. Pods, I've been a big Pods fan, and he's had his moments this year, and he's very young, but he was not very good today whatsoever. Let's talk about the first half, specifically the 3-point shooting from the Golden State Warriors. One of the strangest things you will see from a Dubs team in an Ofer burger in the first half. That's coming up on Locked On Dubs. All right, who's hungry? Time to tell you about one of our sponsors, DoorDash. If you have not gotten in on DashPass yet, now is the time to do it, and that is to say the least. Kylan's hungry right now. I know that for a fact. And NBA fans, it's playoff season. That means with big performances, you get bigger rewards. DashPass is bringing the heat with a slam dunk deal for members during 2025 NBA playoffs. It's called They Swoosh, You Score. If a player scores more than 50 in a playoff game, DashPass members score a free 3-piece crispy tenders combo from Wingstop the very next day. You just place an order of 20 or more, use the code Wingstop50 at checkout, and that combo is yours. It's crispy, it's delicious, it's totally free, and the offer is valid from noon to midnight the day after a game. What's your go-to move? Get some free food. Just because a player went for 50, it's Wingstop. The $20 order means you can buy for 2 and you get a free 3-piece in there. So definitely hope that someone scores 50 plus. And then if you're a DashPass member, grab that 3-piece crispy tender for free combo, I should say, from Wingstop the next day. Wingstop's delicious. It's a $20 order. Code Wingstop50. That's DashPass. Your door to more savings, more flavor, and more ways to win. Terms apply. Visit our friends and supporters at DashPass. First half was strange, Kylan. The Warriors went 0 for 5 from 3. The defense that the Wolves were playing, they were just putting the Warriors out of sync. They were putting their players in weird spots. Curry and his gravity, we know what it does in opening up the floor. The offense was it was thunder and lightning ball. It was Kuminga and Jimmy Butler basketball, and it got better as the game went on. And then late, like I said, Gobert really affected the game. But it was isolation ball, and it worked for the most part. And there were some cuts here and there, but it wasn't your typical balls flipping around, looking for Curry coming off screens and off ball movement. And it really affected Pods, who did not play great whatsoever. And it affected them just shooting threes in general, because the Warriors shot plenty when it came to the second half, but first half, just 5 looks. What did you think of the Warriors offensively? Because they had the lead. Without hitting a single 3, they had a 2-point lead in the first half. By the way, I should note, let's look this up so we have the exact statistic here. But it was the first time that the Warriors, the second time ever under Kerr, that the Warriors did not hit a 3 in the first half. The other time was a Glenn Robinson led 2020 team. He was the leading scorer. That was the last time it happened. So fun fact there.
I think take what the defense is giving you. I don't think it was a bad decision by the Warriors in the first half. Like you said, to tweak what they were running in terms of getting a little bit away from the motion offense, the read and react, the off ball movement and all that kind of stuff, the cutting, and to go with the pick and roll because, keep doing what's working. I actually wish the Warriors went to that more in those final 4 minutes because that's what was getting Jonathan Kuminga so open in addition to Jimmy Butler. We want Jimmy Butler in isolation. I mean, there were a couple times where he either got a smaller defender on him, he's able to back them down and bully his way to the basket. Or if he gets a slower guy out, he attacks him on the bounce and he gets to the rim. I thought that was a big reason why Jimmy was able to get loose for some buckets in addition to Jonathan Kuminga because they were changing up the offense. They were purposely trying to attack the basket more. And I think that's fine. If the three ball isn't falling, if that's what the defense is giving you and you feel like you can take advantage of some of those mismatches with your two guys and Jonathan Kuminga and Jimmy Butler, who are kind of tough.
That's your offensive style now, right?
Like,
that's
why? Yes, without
it.
Steph Curry, play to those strengths. So I don't think there was anything wrong with that. And the Warriors were in it in the first half. I mean, you're right there without Steph Curry in, a single possession game. I thought they should have gone back to that more in the fourth quarter. The offense looked disconnected and discombobulated to me down that final stretch. Another thing about playing this Timberwolves team is that you have to dictate the pace and find those moments to get out in transition. The Warriors were playing such good defense, and I just felt like, especially in the final stretch and later in the fourth quarter, they weren't able to get out on the break because some of those opportunities they were creating in the third quarter when they were able to knock down some triples were some transition threes or some moments where the defense wasn't able to get set. This Timberwolves team, third in the NBA in defensive rating. So a big part of the game plan for any team when going up against the T-Wolves is don't let the defense get set, find the opportunities to get out and run, whether it's clearly in transition or just before they're able to really hone in on their matchups when they get down the floor, figure out how you can attack those holes or attack the defense before, they really have lined up their matchups and get set. So I thought the Warriors did a good job of that in the first half. I thought they were able to attack. And like I said, I think in the third quarter, they were able to find some moments to really try to push the pace. And I do think dictating the pace is going to be super important against this Timberwolves team that is also a great defensive team. Like, it doesn't surprise me that this was a 97-102 scoreline. I thought the Warriors defense stepped up. I think that's a major positive. I mean, they were forcing the Timberwolves to go late in the shot clock time and time again. They got lucky with a couple shot clock violations. Maybe not lucky, but they were close calls. They were correct calls by Foster and company. But I think that was a testament to how good the Warriors played defensively throughout this game. They just let the Timberwolves get a couple of buckets late, and that's what it came down to. But I do think that moving forward, as we look ahead for the Warriors, to me, dictating pace is going to be super important next game. If you're without Steph Curry, I think lean into the ball screens, lean into the isolations, and continue to play that Jimmy Butler and Jonathan Kuminga because they are mismatches on a lot of players. So I think you have to continue to play to that strength.
Yeah, I mean, you were in it until the very end. Warriors had a 4-point lead entering the fourth quarter. So outscored by 9 in the final frame. That's what did them in, and outscored by 9 really in the final 5 minutes. It was neck and neck for the majority of this game. So you got to run back the same strategy and hope that you don't get a nothing burger from Pajimski and Payton and one more 3 goes down. And it's a completely different game. But yeah, your style is clearly it's the thunder and lightning right now when it comes to Kuminga and when it comes to, I mean, Butler's the thunder, Kuminga the lightning. That's an electric combo. But it brings us back to like Kerr basically saying that Kuminga did not work on the floor. I mean, Kolsky's having a victory lap right now. I guess not in the loss, but I'm going to hear it from him to start the week because they said Kuminga and Butler couldn't play together, right? And now that's your only offense is those two together, and it's what makes you encouraged for game 4 because I don't think this is a fluke from Kuminga right now. I think with the way the Warriors are playing and with the fact that they've turned to his number, I mean, he is just someone that for whatever reason, when you give him the keys, like and this even happened when, Curry was hurt earlier in the season in some big games against, like, I think even the Thunder, they almost beat the Thunder with Kuminga leading the charge. I think they may have beaten the Rockets. They definitely beat the Rockets with Kuminga leading the charge. When you give him the keys and say, go, it's your time to shine. He does. When you kind of bring him off the bench and teeter around with him, it does seem to affect him at times, and especially since the injury. And I don't think there's any reason to think that he's going to take his foot off the gas in the next game. Maybe not 30, but he's an effective form of offense right now. So it comes down to the other guys, and specifically Brandon Podziemski. Where are you at, man? Like,
worst game of the playoffs from him for sure.
Yeah, this is someone that we've seen against good teams be able to go for 25 and knock down tough shots over, 6'9" defenders closing out on him when he's pulling up on the baseline and hitting the pull up at a consistent rate and hitting floaters and hook shots and step back threes. Like, he has that in his bag. It's just, it's not been consistent at all during these playoffs, minus 1 or 2 games. And he really picked the worst time of the year to go back to like November pods. Like, it's that's the last thing the Warriors need. They just don't have enough firepower to beat this Thunder team in, a 7-game series if Curry's not returning, if they're going to get that output from Brandon Podziemski minus, I guess, Buddy going for 10 threes or something crazy. It seems hard to believe. And that's what sucks about this whole thing, because I think Curry would have changed this. And I think the Warriors, I mean, maybe they could still win it, but I think they could have won it for sure with Curry. And I guess let's look at the glass half full. You win game 4, it's a completely different story, but that's one you let get away. It was close.
Yeah, I think that Brandon Podziemski got sped up at times by the Timberwolves defense, and they're good. Like, like I said, they're really good defense. That's what they do. But I just thought the decision making from him, oftentimes the shot selection, it was not good offensively. I thought that he was a major detriment, honestly, when he was on the floor. How many minutes did he finish with? I honestly thought that he could have played less. And I know it's tough, as you pointed out, without Steph. Like, who's going to handle the rock? But I don't know. He was just that bad to me in this game. 39 minutes of pods. 39 minutes of pods.
He had his moments where he was decent defensively, especially in the first half. He had some good defensive plays, and then he rebounds well for a guard.
Yeah,
I want to try to pull out some positive. But 39 minutes seems like a stretch. You could have staggered those lineups and had Butler bring the ball up the floor.
Yeah.
He has good enough handles to control it and bring it up. And he just look, if you want to make that argument, I am not arguing with you. If you want to make the argument, why is he playing more than Kuminga? I'm not going to argue it.
Look, I got something to say, and it's, if Anthony Edwards went down, I think the Warriors would cruise to a victory in this series. I think the fact the Warriors are in it without Steph Curry is a massive compliment to the rest of this team. My question is, game 4, can you really expect 30 out of JK and Jimmy again? And if you don't get 30 out of those two, that means everybody's going to have to contribute, every single guy. And there were too many that were having off nights. And Draymond Green being abysmal. I mean, you need points from Brandon Podziemski. Maybe you need a 30-piece from Buddy Hield. Maybe you got to get him a ton of looks, not dribbling. Sorry, buddy. Still don't dribble. He did have that one time where he crossed someone up. Who was defending him? He crossed someone up and hit a nasty 3. So forgive me, Buddy Hield, for making fun of your handle, because usually I say don't dribble. But, I mean, they're going to have to get
Buddy's been great.
Moses Moody, 3 minutes out of the rotation. Like, I don't know. Other guys are going to have to score. That's the bottom line. Other guys are going to have to score in game 4, because I don't know if
Moody's going to get his opportunity. I mean, Kerr,
But here's the thing, Chuck. You can't expect 63 points, 30 pieces from Butler and Kaminga again in back-to-back games. Can you? I mean, is that realistic?
No, but you can expect maybe 10 from Peyton and 12 from Pods instead of whatever he gave you today, which was 5, maybe 6 from Draymond instead of 2, maybe, 8 from Looney instead of 4. We're getting into wishful thinking now with some of these options. But yeah, I mean, look, the Warriors from top to bottom have to, not even from top to bottom, from middle to bottom, just have to be better. They have to get more from those villagers that we talked about. And Moses Moody, Kerr doesn't even give him an opportunity today. Look, he's not that bad, right? He's playing terrible right now, but he's not that bad. And you want him to snap out of his funk. And look, he rolled with Gary Payton today more than Moody. And that may be all she wrote if Kuminga's stealing those minutes, or we'll see how they divvy him up. But per Anthony Slater, it looks like the 3 off the bench are going to be Kuminga, Looney, and Peyton moving forward. And that could be a potential 8-9-man rotation moving forward into the next game. So we'll discuss it. We'll give our final thoughts as the Wolves lead 2-1 in this series. This is Locked On Warriors. Thank you for making it a part of your day. We will be right back. All right, Amazon TV. Let's tell you about one of our sponsors. Kylan knows a little bit about the Amazon Fire TV, hosting the college basketball bracket breakdown. It's good stuff. And did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? You can turn your TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices, and no consoles required. You just grab a pair of controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25, Call of Duty, Black Ops 6, and more. And it's as easy as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple. It's all on your Fire TV. It's got the latest technology. It's got endless entertainment right where you also can play games. So it's 4K streaming with 1.5 million movies and TV episodes. Switch on over for your kids to play some games wherever they plug in. All they need is that compatible controller. So how about that? Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controllers required. It's available on select devices. You got the Fire TV Stick 4K, the Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. Let's get back to the show, and thank you to our sponsors today. 102.97, tough way to go down at Chase. Chase was electric late. Buddy Hield was getting the people going in that fourth quarter. Jimmy Butler was so dang good. Jonathan Kuminga was so awesome. Let's just spend a moment on some of those guys. Kuminga, the and one that he had, circus shot, incredible. He's now dunked on a Wolf and a couple straight games today. I can't even remember who was on. I think he may have had a couple of them in transition. Defensively, he was so awesome. It's just a bummer that you don't win this game with those two playing that well, but it's a shout to the Wolves, you know. I think with Steph Curry on the floor, like I've mentioned many times, this is a completely different series. I think it's extremely winnable. You lose, in my opinion, one of the top 5 MVPs in basketball this year. If you don't think so, you're crazy. I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, probable MVP, right? We saw him play last night, and look, he's awesome. Steph Curry, don't even tell me that he's not on the same stratosphere as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's incredible. Has had such a good second half of the season and just changes everything. And to not have him, it is a testament to how good Jimmy Butler is, how well Jonathan Kuminga played. And you just hope that you could sneak out enough to potentially get a incredible Game 6 Curry performance and give you a chance in Game 7. But who knows, man? That's just the situation that we're in right now. The Warriors have run into some times in the past where they were, you know, the beneficiaries of a player being out. And right now that's just what it is. An injury at a very inopportune time. And it sucks because this team, they looked like they had some stuff working with, and it looked like they were pretty close. And will they get there? There's a lot of basketball to be played, but tie a ribbon on this game, Kylan.
I'm actually going to look ahead, check. Game 4 is a must win. But first, before I look ahead, I do want to shout out someone in our comments. Anita said that she is a first-time watcher of the show. We love that you guys chat in the comments. We can't address all of them. We love the sense of community that we've created. But I do want to say shout out to Anita for joining the show for the first time. And she said that Kylan knows what she's talking about. She had to play some hoop before. So, of course, I got to shout that out as well. I did play basketball through high school, and then I've been a sports broadcaster for 12 years. And I've been covering the game. I've been studying the game. I watch film. I get to work with analysts who are some of the greatest.
No one works harder. And it's Kylan's birthday, everyone, in just a couple of hours. So happy birthday.
Yeah, so it's my birthday. But I was going to say, I get to work with analysts and play-by-plays and be a part of the Warriors broadcast alongside some of the greatest basketball minds in the game. And I'm always picking their brains, always trying to, learn from the greats that I'm working around. So I did play basketball, but also I think I've just learned so much being able to cover the sport as a broadcaster and with some of the best in the business. I always watch with kind of an analytical eye where I'm trying to watch, different floor spacing and defensive strategies and things like that, to give you guys a better look, at least from my mind, of what I'm saying. But anyways, shout out to everyone for joining us. Anita, we appreciate it. And everyone else who is joining us and does on the regular, we appreciate you being a part of the program. And so here's my last thought. Game 4 is a must win for the Dubs. I think if you come away from this 2-2, you feel good heading into games 5, 6, and 7. At that point, it comes a best of 3 series. And if you have Steph Curry back, I feel good that the Warriors can win 2 of 3. If you go down 3-1, that becomes a much bigger hole to dig out of. You have to win 3 in a row. I just think that's really tough. This is still a really good Timberwolves team. If somehow the Dubs can steal game 4, I think they win the series. But that's a big if, because again, I just think you're asking a lot to get 30-point performances from JK and Jimmy. Like, I think the Warriors had to take advantage of those in this game, but I'm hopeful. Buddy Hield could pop off. You never know. Buddy Hield could pop off. They could get some more production from Brandon Pajemski. They could get more production. What about Quentin Post? Like, Quentin Post randomly has gone out of the rotation. 3 minutes from him, 3 minutes from Moody. I don't know. I just think that someone else and others
can't hang defensively in there. He went out to the perimeter a few times, and
I was saying that last game that I think that I think that Quentin Post is too soft, and you were the one criticizing me, and people in the comments like, oh, he's there for floor spacing. He's not there for physicality and defense.
He doesn't have quick enough feet.
The Timberwolves aren't as physical as the Rockets. The physicality actually has hurt the Timberwolves, I think, throughout the course of the season. Anyways, I think we digress. We could talk about this all day. I do think it's a must win looking ahead to game 4. Maybe it's a Buddy Hield game. I just think it's a lot to ask for another JK and another Jimmy Butler game. Maybe one of those guys go off. Maybe they both go for 20, but others are going to have to score. That's what it's going to come down to, because the Warriors played great defense. Rinse and repeat on that end. They need to put more points on the board at the end of the day, and it's going to require other guys stepping up.
There were a couple things. One, you mentioned that their defense it's not as tough as the Rockets. It's right up there. It's extremely difficult, but the rebounding today, they were good. They had 13 offensive rebounds, a couple late that led to second chance points. The second chance number, I would imagine, was in favor of the points off turnovers. First of all, 16 points given up by the Warriors in transition, and I mean, 15 of them.
The Wolves had more turnovers overall, but they were a lot more dead ball. There were more dead ball turnovers compared to the Warriors' live ball turnovers, which hurts you.
Yep. So they beat you in that statistic despite turning it over 6 more times. And then points in the paint was pretty even, 46 for the Wolves, 48 for the Warriors. Fast break points, there weren't a ton of them. Like, it was a pretty grinded out, slow game, half court. What you going to do? And that's where the Wolves won it late. And the size of Rudy Gobert. Here's something that we point to in the game that really changed things, where there were a few like challenges that went both times to the Wolves that kept Gobert in the game and ended up forcing Draymond to watch the last 5 minutes from the bench. Rudy Gobert goes to the bench, and you win this game. Like, he was, in my opinion, the difference maker. He had 5 fouls. You somehow get him off the floor, and that opens up the rim for Butler and Kuminga to attack, and it's a completely different story. So you can't be a revisionist. You lost fair and square. 5-point Wolves win. They do not cover if you got the hook. The Warriors do come away with the victory in that department. You can check it out on FanDuel. But, yeah, that's it. Butler and Kaminga combined for 63. It is not enough for the Warriors as they fall in the game. Any final thoughts for the way out, birthday girl? I'll give you the floor.
Thanks for the birthday wishes, friends. Love all y'all here on Locked On.
Thank you, and we will see you after Game 4 that is coming up on Monday night. We will see you then. This is Locked On Dubs. Peace, everyone.
Go Dubs, baby.